Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Insert Wisdom podcast. This is episode number 2. First, I wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for all the feedback that I got on episode 1. I really was blown away by how many people actually tuned in and listened and gave it a like and reached out to me about it and told me some pointers and some tips for moving forward. This podcast will eventually be on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I just want to put out a couple of episodes first so that when people find it on Spotify and Apple, that they will have multiple episodes to listen to. Because I am a professional. No, I don't know. But that just felt correct. So thank you so much for the support and for subscribing to my Substack. It's really been an amazing response, and I absolutely love sitting down to record these episodes. So in today's episode, I really feel like the word of the day is relief. I keep hearing this word in my head. I keep seeing it around Los Angeles in particular. It's coming to me in things that I'm writing about, in journal entries, in my book. And so today's episode, I wanted to talk about relief and what that looks like, how badly a lot of us may need it, and lastly, ways to find relief in these absolute crazy times that we find ourselves in. I personally believe that the world has largely always been the same, that we're just much more aware of everything these days because of things like social media. You know, we're always aware of everything all the time when there really wasn't a time in history before this when we were connected on this level. So it can very easily lead to a lot of overwhelm, and relief is about letting go of that overwhelm. So what I wanted to start with today is to read you the first, it's like a page and a half of my book, Under the Same Sky. It is a small town, cozy romance, slow burn, friends to lovers. I'm going to be reading you the very first page and a half or so of chapter 1, and I think it's important and relevant to today's topic in this episode. So sit back and relax, and I will read you a few pages here. Saren wished she could explode out of her skin and become someone less complicated. She was beyond tired, her eyes at half-mast, gloomily surveying the rows of snow-painted pine trees passing by the bus window. Soon the late January light would fade, and darkness would bathe the landscape. Her head swam with too much information. Her thoughts tread water, so she could not feel. It had been an awful couple of days, and nothing made her feel better. Her fight-or-flight response had been jammed into overdrive since the prior evening, and she hadn't slept in 36 hours. She realized she was running away, but for once, she didn't care. She knew she had to get out of the city. She shifted in her seat, unable to get comfortable. Her black city slicker coat was too warm. Beads of sweat formed on her lower back, causing her shirt to stick to her skin. She was dressed as she usually would not, without care and sloppily. None of that mattered now. No one knew her where she was going, and she wouldn't have it any other way. She was glad to be anonymous, a mysterious figure in a new place, and she hoped her presence in 80town would be just that, whispers. As the bus rounded a corner, one of the rear wheels hit a pothole, and the entire vehicle undulated and creaked. This bus is so old, Saren thought, grimacing. It was unlike the ones in the city. It made sense that 80town wouldn't have the resources for newer transport, but she wasn't used to older buses. She liked comfort and ease, but where she was headed was not bound to be comfortable or easy. When her grandfather passed away, it wasn't a shock. He was old and had lived a long and fulfilled life. Saren hadn't seen him in some time because she was usually busy trying to make something of herself in the city. The love of her grandfather's life was his farm, which he named Hioraith. Saren and her grandfather could not have been more different. He was like an oak tree, strong, rooted, and constant. She was like the wind, inconstant, changing, and untied. One could say Saren had little control over her life, much to her dismay. Her life path wasn't obvious, and the uncertainty was unbearable. She was constantly searching, but for what she could not say. Her inconstancy seemed to stain every aspect of her life. No place was home for long. Her worldview evolved with each passing day. She did not long to be one person. She wanted to be many. Could the next person she encountered have all the answers to her questions? Could they know better? Maybe the right information would undam a tidal wave of golden answers and everything would make sense, and then she could be happy. But that never happened, and Saren was not happy. So, I think this touches on this overwhelm and this real sense of urgency that a lot of people may be having in today's world about, in America, we have a new president. A lot of people are scared about what he is planning to do. Lots of executive orders that seem to be infringing upon common human decency and just empathy in general, humanitarian ideals. And for someone like me, that is quite distressing, but that's a whole other topic to rein in allowing the world to distress me too much. But here in Los Angeles, the last few weeks, we have had a lot of devastating fires. There's the Palisades fire that is considered the most devastating fire in Los Angeles history. We also had the Eaton fire, which completely devastated the Altadena neighborhood. We also had multiple fires break out all over LA. I think at one point I counted 10 to 15 fires. There was also another one that came up near Santa Clarita. There's also one in San Diego that was pretty huge. It just seemed to be one after the other, after the other, after the other. And it was like sort of the same thing with when COVID happened, right? Because COVID came about and everybody was like, what is this? Should I be scared? Should I wash my groceries? Should I stock up on toilet paper? Like, oh my God, here in LA, every grocery store was out of like everything. I remember going to Whole Foods and there like the entire frozen section was gone. There was nothing there except like a loaf of bread that one of the workers felt bad for me. And he just gifted it to me, which was very kind of him. But there was this frenzy, this anxiety around, oh my God, do I need to be prepared for the worst? Do I need to protect myself, my family? How do I do this? Like nobody knew what was going on because COVID was so new. And it was sort of the same kind of feeling with these fires. Masks were sold out everywhere. I was working on a set and part of my job was to go around and look for N95 masks and I could not find anywhere. They were sold out. I did end up finding some, which was fantastic. But that was a real hassle. People really had to come together to help each other because thousands of homes were lost and it was just a very stressful time. I remember sitting at this very desk that I'm recording this episode and feeling like I was going to throw up because I was really freaking out because there was a fire near Runyon Canyon and one of my friends lives near there and I thought that I just kept having these thoughts like, is his house going to burn down? I know people whose homes did burn down. everybody I knew was affected in some way. And I just felt so completely overwhelmed. And these fires were just completely relentless. I had a friend over last night, and we briefly talked about it. And she was close-ish to one of the evacuation zones. And she was up late packing up everything that she didn't want to burn, because she and her boyfriend both thought that they were gonna lose their home, that they were gonna have to leave Los Angeles. Thankfully, they are fine. But the point is, there is this relentlessness, this fever pitch to world events that are happening, to things that just don't seem to let up, even just a little bit. It's like, having somebody has their foot on your neck, so to speak. But then today, it rained. It's been raining on and off all day. It rained last night, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow. And when I tell you how much relief I feel, how much relief it's almost like I can feel it coming from all over Los Angeles. It feels like a godsend that this rain has probably effectively put out the rest of whatever these fires had in them. At this point, all 3 of the major fires were pretty much contained, I think including the one in San Diego, but there was still some left. But this rain has probably put the rest of that out, which is just beautiful. And it's also not raining a lot, which is also a blessing, because, you go from one extreme to the other, right? Because if it rained too much, then there could be mudslides, and that would be devastating as well. But thankfully, it's only supposed to rain today and tomorrow on and off, which is exactly the relief that Los Angeles needed. The other side of relief that I experienced today, I am an avid journaler. I've kept a journal ever since I was little. I love Diarpel journals. I've always gotten them from Barnes & Noble. They're usually a little pricey, but I think that they're worth it because they are absolutely beautiful. The line spacing is great. The composition, the way that these journals are made are just stunning. The journal I have currently is a Monet painting. I believe it's Monet. It's water lilies and a bridge of some kind. I don't remember the name of it. Maybe I should look that up though. Yeah, so it is the Monet Japanese bridge. And green is my favorite color, so it's perfect for me. But I woke up today and I felt like this bizarre energy that I can't even put into words right now as I'm sitting down to record this. But it was just like I need to consume energy. I need to do something. I need to grasp at something, which obviously reads now, as I'm speaking about it, as anxiety. Anxiety is something that I have struggled with over the course of my lifetime. I am a lot better now than I used to be. But my inner voice that I believe I talked about in the first episode, or no, it was a blog post, because I also write blog posts on Substack. My inner voice was practically screaming at me to slow down and write, journal, turn the brain off. Just dump every fearful thought, every out of control thing that was going through my head, and write that shit down. So I spent about an hour and a half journaling, and I can confidently say by the end of it, I felt so much better. It really is like magic to sit down and write all your thoughts down on a page. It's giving up this needless chatter that does not help myself, doesn't help you, doesn't help anybody. It's all born of fear, it's all born of anxiety, and it does not help anybody. So this real sense of relief came over me at some point while I was writing. I realized that the weight had been lifted. Of course, there are still things that I personally am having to think through, as I think all of us are having to think through. And it really becomes a question of how much relief can we find? How much relief can we give to ourselves, especially in these crazy times where we are aware of everything? And I know at least what my answer is and what seems to help me. I've already talked about journaling. That is a godsend. But I think there is also a lot of magic in visualizing peace, visualizing relief falling down like a soft rain, or for some reason the image of a lantern, very much like the logo for this podcast, has been coming up in my head today. I'm like walking through a misty blue winter evening, holding a lantern in the dark. And the lantern is warm. The light is reflecting off my skin. And there is a sense of stillness and peace out there in the winter landscape. But that warm glow of that light, that fire in that lantern, is like a flicker of hope. It's a sense of everything will be all right. And my wish for people is that they can give themselves this light when they need it, however that's going to unfold for you. But I think visualizing peace, visualizing relief, visualizing whatever it is that is going to make this insane pressure that I think we're all living through, the stresses, the bombardment of information and opinions, I think this is a beautiful way to release so much of that pressure. And I love talking to people about what works for them and about this connection that we have. Because the whole point of being alive, I mean, I don't want to get too in the weeds there, because I frankly don't know what the point of being alive is other than the meaning that you give to it. But I think a huge part of the point of being alive is in connection, in hearing other people say, oh, you felt that way? Me too. Oh, this story meant something to me. It meant something to you too. And finding that common ground. Because common ground is the biggest sense of relief when you are having an argument with someone and there's screaming, there's name calling, swearing, it can get pretty intense. But once that common ground is found, the relief that comes rushing in, it feels amazing. Relief is so akin to peace. And that's why, some of the greatest leaders in the past have talked about the importance of peace and how we need peace, how we should aspire to peace. And if we can give ourselves these little pieces of relief throughout the day, that's only going to add to this overall connection between all people of having more peace. So that's really what was on my mind today. I would love to know in the comments what brings you relief. I know that going for walks also brings me relief, listening to music. I have a very, very dear person to me in my life who's coming over tonight, and we're going to hang out and watch The Office and eat some good food and get all cozy, and that is relief too. This rain today has been relief. A hug is relief. Music is relief. Reading, writing, feeling good, gratitude, all these things are relief. So I hope that if you are feeling overwhelmed and pressurized, whatever you're doing, whatever's going on in your life, I hope that this episode brought you some relief or some peace, a quick break or respite from whatever's going on. We are all in this together, and I know that we will get through it. So, that is it for episode 2 of the Insert Wisdom podcast. I enjoyed filming this episode for you. Please let me know what you thought of it in the comments. I will, of course, have links to all the different ways that you can be in touch with me via social media, and of course the link to my book, which is available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, and my Goodreads as well, where I love to review books that I've read throughout the months. That's always very fun. Yeah, I'm not sure how to end this episode, but I guess I will just end it here awkwardly. That was one bit of feedback that I would like to do at some point, is to find intro and outro music so that I'm not left floundering to end it on my end. Maybe it's because I'm not good at goodbyes that I struggle with it, but this is not goodbye. It is just until see you in the next episode. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye.